When hope turned to desperation, the enemy that devoured stars. Commander Zephyr's crystalline form pulsed with deep purple light as she stared at the tactical display aboard the flagship Prism's edge. The holographic map showed 17 red markers where star systems used to exist. 17 civilizations, billions of lives, all consumed by the enemy they called the Void Seekers. The bridge fell silent except for the humming of energy conduits. Zephyr's people from the planet Prism were beings of living crystal who communicated through light patterns, but even they struggled to find colors bright enough to express their despair. For 3 years, the Void Seekers had moved through their galaxy like a plague, turning entire worlds into empty husks. Status report. Zephyr's voice resonated through the ship's crystal communication network, reaching every corner of the massive vessel. General Korath stepped forward, his scaled form towering over the other crew members. The reptilian warrior from the planet Scales had fought in 100 battles, but his yellow eyes now held something they had never shown before. Fear. His people were born fighters, evolved on a world where massive predators hunted in packs, yet even they trembled at the mention of the Void Seekers. The enemy mothership approaches Nexus Point, Korath reported, his voice a low growl. Our scouts confirm it's the same vessel that destroyed the Harmony systems. Length, 3 kilometers. Width, 1 kilometer. Height, 800 meters. It moves like death itself through space. Captain Vela materialized beside them, her energy-based form flickering between blue and silver. Her people from Luminet existed as pure consciousness housed in energy fields, making them nearly immortal and incredibly wise. But wisdom meant nothing against an enemy that consumed everything it touched. The Coalition fleet is assembled, Vela announced, her voice like wind chimes in a storm. 200 ships from 5 worlds. Our finest warriors, our most advanced technology, our last hope. Zephyr's light dimmed to a sad amber. The coalition of 5 worlds represented the greatest alliance their galaxy had ever seen. Prism provided crystal technology that could bend light and energy. Scales brought warriors whose strength could shatter mountains. Lumina offered beings who could process information at the speed of thought. The metal workers of Forge created ships that could withstand the heat of stars. The plant people of Garden had developed biological weapons that could adapt to any threat. Together, they should have been unstoppable. Instead, they were the last survivors of a galaxy being devoured. The battle that changed everything. The Void Seeker mothership emerged from hyperspace like a nightmare made real. Its hull was darker than the space around it, seeming to absorb light itself. Along its sides, thousands of smaller vessels moved like parasites, each one capable of destroying a city. But the mothership was the true terror, a vessel so large it had its own gravitational field. All ships, attack formation Omega, Zephyr commanded. The Coalition fleet moved with practiced precision, 200 vessels arranging themselves in a sphere around the enemy. Ships from Prism focused light into devastating beams. Forge vessels launched projectiles that could pierce any armor. Garden ships released clouds of adaptive bioweapons. Scale warships charged forward with weapons blazing. The Void Seeker mothership didn't even slow down. The enemy's response was swift and merciless. Beams of pure darkness shot from the mothership's hull, striking Coalition vessels with surgical precision. Where the dark energy touched, ships simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not vaporized. They became nothing, as if they had never been built at all. General Korath watched his finest warriors disappear into nothingness. Impossible, he snarled. Our shields should protect against any energy weapon. It's not destroying our ships, Captain Villa observed, her form flickering with confusion. It's unmaking them, reversing their existence. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, only 30 Coalition ships remained. The Void Seeker mothership continued on its path, unchanged and undamaged. Behind it, the Nexus Point system began to dim as the enemy's smaller vessels spread out to consume every planet, every moon, every asteroid. Zephyr's light had turned to the darkest purple her species could produce, the color of complete despair. In a single engagement, they had lost over 80% of their fleet. The coalition was finished. A signal from the unknown. 3 days after the disaster at Nexus Point, the survivors gathered at the hidden base on asteroid Sanctuary 7. The mood was darker than the space between stars. Military leaders who had commanded respect across 5 worlds now sat in silence, staring at casualty reports they couldn't comprehend. "We have to evacuate," General Korath said finally. "Gather what civilians we can and flee to the next galaxy. It's our only chance." "Running will only delay the inevitable," Captain Vela replied. "The Void Seekers have consumed entire galaxies before. There are records in the cosmic background radiation. This has happened before, in other places, other times." Commander Zephyr remained silent, her crystalline form barely glowing. As the military leader of the coalition, she felt the weight of failure crushing down on her. How do you fight an enemy that can unmake reality itself? That's when Lieutenant Nexus, a young crystal being from Prism, burst into the command center. His form was blazing with excited yellow light. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Outer Rim. It's from a system we've never cataloged before. The signal is primitive, but it's clearly artificial." Zephyr's light brightened slightly. Any distraction from their hopeless situation was welcome. "Show me." The holographic display activated, showing a small yellow star with 9 planets. The 3rd planet was blue and green, covered in water and vegetation. The signal was coming from there. "The inhabitants call their world Earth," Nexus reported. "The transmission is a basic mathematical sequence, prime numbers. They're trying to make contact." General Korath snorted. "A primitive species that just discovered radio waves. What use could they possibly be?" "Perhaps none," Zephyr admitted. "But we have nothing left to lose. Open a channel." First contact. The response came faster than expected. Within hours, the primitive species had not only received their transmission, but had sent back a complex message in multiple languages, mathematical equations, and even basic star maps showing their location. Captain Vela was intrigued. They learned quickly for a primitive species. The breakthrough came when the humans sent visual transmissions. The coalition leaders found themselves looking at 3 figures on a screen. A tall woman with short, dark hair wearing what appeared to be a military uniform, a middle-aged man with kind eyes and some sort of laboratory coat, and a younger man whose eyes seemed to take in everything around him with intense focus. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Command," the woman said through the translation matrix. "This is Dr. Marcus Webb, our chief scientist, and Lieutenant Jake Morrison, our tactical officer. We understand you're facing a threat called the Void Seekers." Commander Zephyr's form flickered with surprise. "You know of them?" Dr. Webb nodded. "We've been monitoring cosmic background radiation and gravitational anomalies. The pattern of star systems disappearing, the energy signatures. It's not natural. Something is systematically consuming entire civilizations. And you think your primitive technology can help where our advanced civilizations have failed?" General Korath asked, his tone skeptical. Lieutenant Morrison smiled, an expression that somehow managed to look both friendly and dangerous. "General, humans have been fighting impossible odds for our entire history. We've learned that sometimes the best weapon isn't the strongest one. It's the one your enemy doesn't expect." Captain Vela leaned forward, her energy form brightening with interest. "What do you mean?" "Every species we've studied from your transmissions has one thing in common," Dr. Webb explained. "You've all evolved to be incredibly advanced, incredibly efficient, incredibly logical. You fight like you think, with perfect strategy and superior technology." "And that's a problem?" Zephyr asked. "It is when your enemy can predict your every move," Morrison replied. "The Void Seekers have fought dozens of advanced civilizations. They know how logical, efficient species wage war. But humans..." He paused, glancing at his companions. Humans are chaos made strategic. The human perspective. Over the next several days, the humans studied everything the Coalition could tell them about the Void Seekers. They analyzed battle recordings, energy signatures, attack patterns, and tactical data with an intensity that surprised the alien commanders. Dr. Webb's findings were disturbing. Your enemy isn't just powerful, it's perfect. Every move calculated for maximum efficiency, every weapon fired at precisely the right moment, every tactical decision optimized for complete victory. That sounds like an advantage, General Korath observed. It's actually their weakness, Captain Chen replied. Perfect systems are predictable systems, and predictable enemies can be beaten. She pulled up a holographic display showing human history. My species has fought thousands of wars against other humans. Every time we faced an enemy who used the same tactics repeatedly, we found ways to exploit their patterns. The key isn't to be stronger, it's to be different. The determination didn't attack the mothership's hull or shields. Instead, it fired a single, precisely targeted beam at empty space near the enemy vessel. The beam seemed to disappear into nothing, until it reappeared inside the mothership's central power core. Quantum tunneling, Webb explained to the amazed Coalition commanders. We didn't break through their defenses. We bypassed them entirely by making our weapon exist in two places at once. The effect on the Void Seeker mothership was immediate and catastrophic. Internal explosions rippled through the massive vessel as its power systems began to cascade into failure. But the ship was so large and well-built that even this devastating attack wouldn't destroy it completely. That's when Morrison implemented the final phase of the human plan. Psychology of victory. All ships, cease chaotic movement, Morrison ordered. Return to standard formations and prepare for coordinated assault. The Coalition fleet suddenly snapped into perfect tactical formation, moving with precision and purpose toward the damaged mothership. After minutes of complete chaos, they were now displaying textbook military coordination. The Void Seeker mothership's computers tried to calculate an optimal response, but something unexpected happened. The ship's artificial intelligence systems, designed for perfect logical analysis, began to malfunction when faced with the transition from chaos to order. What's happening to them? Commander Zephyr asked as she watched the enemy vessel's movements become erratic. Cognitive dissonance, Chen replied. Their computer systems are trying to process two contradictory sets of data, complete chaos followed by perfect order. Human minds can handle that kind of contradiction, but artificial intelligence systems can't. The mothership's smaller vessels began receiving conflicting commands from their mothership. Some were ordered to attack, others to retreat, still others to maintain defensive positions. The perfect coordination that had made them unstoppable was breaking down into confusion. Now we finished this, Morrison said grimly. The Coalition fleet attacked with everything they had. But now their weapons found their targets. The Void Seeker mothership, its systems compromised, and its artificial intelligence failing, couldn't mount an effective defense. One by one, its weapon systems went dark. Its shields flickered and died. Its hull began to crack under the sustained assault. The impossible becomes reality. The explosion that destroyed the Void Seeker mothership lit up the entire Trinity sector. The massive vessel that had consumed 17 star systems broke apart in a chain reaction of energy releases, taking its swarm of smaller vessels with it. When the light faded, nothing remained but expanding clouds of debris. Commander Zephyr's crystalline form blazed with colors that had no names, the pure joy of a victory that should have been impossible. Around her, the Coalition fleet celebrated as crews that had expected to die, instead, found themselves witnessing the destruction of their greatest enemy. How? General Korath asked, his scaled form trembling with adrenaline. How did we defeat something that had never been beaten before? Captain Chen's voice came over the comm system, calm and professional even in victory. General, the Void Seekers made the same mistake that every perfect enemy makes. They assumed their opponents would be as logical as they were. But humans learned long ago that sometimes the best strategy is to have no strategy at all. Dr. Webb was already analyzing the readings from the battle. The mothership's AI was designed to counter logical threats with logical responses. When we introduced chaos, it couldn't adapt. When we followed chaos with perfect order, it couldn't process the contradiction. The system that made them invincible also made them vulnerable. Lieutenant Morrison brought up tactical displays showing the battle from multiple angles. Every great commander in human history has known this principle. If you can't win through strength, win through surprise. If you can't win through surprise, win through confusion. And if you can't win through confusion, win by being so unpredictable that your enemy defeats themselves trying to understand you. A new alliance. Meanwhile, Morrison was working with the tactical teams. Forget everything you know about optimal firing solutions and perfect formations, he told them. We're going to fight like humans fight. Messy, unpredictable, and absolutely relentless. Captain Vela observed the preparations with growing confusion. This seems like deliberate inefficiency. Why would you make your systems less precise? Because precision is predictable, Chen replied. The Void Seekers can calculate optimal responses to logical attacks, but they can't calculate responses to illogical ones. The strangest modification was to the Coalition's most powerful ship, Commander Zephyr's flagship Prism's Edge. Webb had installed what he called a chaos generator, a device that would randomly alter the ship's energy signatures, movement patterns, and weapon firing sequences. It's going to make us 60% less efficient in combat, Zephyr observed, and 1,000% less predictable, Morrison added. Commander, efficiency only matters if you survive long enough to use it. The bait is set. The trap was laid in the Trinity sector, where 3 star systems formed a triangle in space. Long-range sensors had detected the Void Seeker mothership approaching, drawn by the dense population of the region. It would be their next target for consumption. The Coalition fleet took position. 28 ships, all that remained of their once mighty armada. To any observer, they appeared to be making their final stand, arranged in the same defensive formations they had used in previous battles. But appearances were deceiving. Phase 1 begins now, Chen announced from the bridge of her small Earth vessel, Determination. The ship looked primitive compared to the sleek Coalition warships, but its quantum computers were already processing battle scenarios faster than any alien technology could match. The Void Seeker mothership emerged from hyperspace exactly as predicted. 3 kilometers of dark metal that seemed to absorb light itself, surrounded by a cloud of smaller vessels. The enemy had brought their standard formation, the same one they had used to destroy 17 star systems. Commander Zephyr watched the enemy approach, her crystalline form shifting through nervous color patterns. They look exactly the same as every other battle. That's what we're counting on, Morrison replied through the comm system. Enemy formations are optimal for fighting logical opponents, but we're not going to be logical. The Void Seeker mothership moved into attack position, its massive weapons beginning to charge. Energy readings spiked as the reality-altering cannon prepared to fire, the weapon that could unmake entire ships from existence. That's when the chaos began, breaking the pattern. Instead of charging forward in formation or holding defensive positions, the Coalition ships suddenly scattered in completely random directions. There was no pattern to their movement, no tactical logic, no optimal spacing. Ships accelerated and decelerated at irregular intervals, changed direction without warning, and fired their weapons at seemingly empty space. The Void Seeker mothership hesitated. For the first time, in 3 years of perfect victories, the enemy couldn't calculate an optimal response. Their tactical computers were designed to predict logical behavior, but nothing the Coalition fleet was doing made sense. Direct hit on the mothership's forward shields, reported General Korath from his vessel Scales Fury, but he sounded confused. But I wasn't aiming at the forward shields. I was firing randomly at nothing. The chaos generator is working, Dr. Webb announced from his position aboard Prism's Edge. The mothership moved into the path of your random shot because its computers calculated that position as the safest location. The Voidseeker smaller vessels began their standard attack pattern, but the Coalition ships weren't where they were supposed to be. Energy beams meant to destroy entire vessels passed harmlessly through empty space, while the intended targets had moved to completely illogical positions. Captain Vela's energy form blazed with excitement. They can't target us. Their weapons are too precise. They require predictable movement patterns to lock on. But the real surprise was yet to come. The true attack. While the Voidseeker mothership was trying to process the chaos of the Coalition fleet's movements, Captain Chen's ship Determination had been moving through space on a completely different vector. The small Earth vessel approached the massive enemy ship from below, using the gravitational shadows of nearby asteroids to mask its approach. Phase 2, Chen announced. Dr. Webb, are you ready? Quantum tunneling device is active. Webb replied. We're about to attempt something that should be theoretically impossible. Lieutenant Morrison had been studying the Voidseeker mothership design. This vessel is built for direct confrontation. Overwhelming firepower, massive defensive systems, complete battlefield control. It's designed to win through superior force, which is why it's unbeatable, Korath said. No, Morrison shook his head. It's why it's vulnerable. The ship is so optimized for one type of warfare that it can't adapt to unexpected tactics. It's like a master chess player who's only ever played against other masters. Show them a completely different game, and they don't know how to respond. Dr. Webb brought up technical specifications. The energy patterns show something interesting. The mothership's reality-altering weapons require enormous power and precise targeting. But there's a recharge cycle. 0.7 seconds between each shot. That's not enough time to exploit, Captain Villa pointed out. Not for one ship, Captain Chen agreed. But we're not talking about one ship. We're talking about changing the entire nature of the battle. Zephyr's crystalline form pulsed with cautious hope. What are you proposing? The Voidseekers expect you to fight them ship to ship, weapon to weapon, strength against strength, Chen explained. They've optimized their entire strategy around that kind of battle. But what if we don't fight them at all? I don't understand, Korath growled. Morrison grinned. General, the greatest victory is the one where your enemy defeats themselves, and we think we know exactly how to make that happen. As the humans outlined their plan, the Coalition leaders realized they were hearing something completely new, not just different tactics, but an entirely different way of thinking about warfare itself. The smallest, most primitive species in the galaxy was proposing to do what the most advanced civilizations could not. The question was, would it work, or would it lead to their final destruction? Commander Zephyr looked at her fellow commanders, seeing the same desperate hope in their expressions that she felt in her crystalline core. They had lost everything fighting the Voidseekers with strength and honor. Perhaps it was time to try fighting with cunning and chaos instead. Tell us your plan, she said to the humans. All of it. Captain Chen's smile was sharp as a blade. Commander, we're going to teach the most perfect enemy in the galaxy that perfection is just another word for predictability, and predictable enemies make the best targets. The war was about to change in ways no one could imagine. The impossible victory. The strategy that defied logic. Captain Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display in the Coalition war room, her fingers dancing across the control interface. Around her, the greatest military minds from 5 different worlds watched in fascination as she outlined a battle plan that went against everything they had learned about warfare. The Voidseekers have one fatal flaw, Chen began, her voice calm and confident. They're too perfect. Every battle they've fought has followed the same pattern. Enemy fleet attacks. They respond with overwhelming force. Enemy fleet is destroyed. They've done this so many times that it's become automatic. General Korath's scaled form shifted uncomfortably. But that pattern works. They've never been defeated. Because no one has ever broken the pattern, Lieutenant Jake Morrison interjected. He brought up a 3-dimensional tactical display, showing the Void Seeker mothership surrounded by smaller vessels. Look at their formation. It's mathematically perfect. Optimal coverage, maximum firepower, complete protection. But it's also completely rigid. Dr. Marcus Webb stepped forward, his scientific mind racing with possibilities. Every organic system has evolved defense mechanisms against predictable threats, but the Void Seekers have never faced an unpredictable threat. They don't have protocols for chaos. Commander Zephyr's crystalline form pulsed with uncertain blue light. What exactly are you proposing? Chen smiled. We're going to give them exactly what they expect. A direct assault by a coalition fleet. But while they're busy destroying our decoy ships, we'll be implementing the real attack from an angle they'll never see coming. The deception begins. Over the next week, the humans worked with coalition engineers to modify their remaining ships. The changes seemed minor to the alien commanders. Some new communication arrays, modified sensor packages, upgraded computer systems. But Dr. Webb's modifications were far more sophisticated than they appeared. Human computer technology is based on quantum uncertainty, Webb explained to a group of PRISM technicians. Instead of calculating the single best solution like your systems do, our computers calculate thousands of possible solutions simultaneously. This lets us adapt in real time to changing situations. In the weeks following the victory at Trinity Sector, word spread throughout the galaxy that the unstoppable Void Seekers had been defeated. The news seemed impossible, but the evidence was undeniable. The system-devouring mothership was gone, destroyed by a fleet that had been written off as hopeless. But more than victory, the battle had created something new. The coalition of 5 worlds had become the coalition of 6 worlds, with Earth taking its place as the strategic advisor to the Alliance. The humans' small fleet and primitive technology were less important than their revolutionary approach to warfare. Commander Zephyr stood on the observation deck of Prism's Edge, watching Earth's small blue-green whirl through the viewing ports. Captain Chen stood beside her, the two commanders having formed an unlikely friendship through their shared victory. Your species thinks differently than any we've encountered, Zephyr observed, her crystalline form glowing with warm gold light. Where we see problems to solve with logic and efficiency, you see puzzles to solve with creativity and adaptability. Chen smiled. Commander, humans have always been the chaos species. We're too curious to be completely logical, too stubborn to accept impossible odds, and too creative to fight the same battle twice. Maybe that's what the galaxy needed, not another perfect solution, but a perfectly imperfect one. Captain Vela materialized beside them, her energy form flickering with contentment. The Void Seekers consumed civilizations for millennia because they had perfected the art of war. But no art is truly perfect until someone comes along to break all the rules. Dr. Webb joined the conversation from the bridge, his voice carrying a mixture of pride and concern. We've proven that any system, no matter how advanced, can be defeated through innovation and adaptation. But we've also learned that the greatest victories come not from superior technology, but from superior thinking. General Korath's growling voice added the final perspective. The humans have taught us that strength alone is not enough. Intelligence alone is not enough. Even perfection is not enough. True victory requires the courage to embrace uncertainty and the wisdom to make chaos work in your favor. As the mixed fleet of human and alien vessels moved through space, they represented something entirely new in galactic history. An alliance built not on shared technology or compatible biology, but on the understanding that different ways of thinking could combine to solve impossible problems. The Void Seekers had been defeated not by superior firepower or advanced technology, but by 3 humans who understood that sometimes the best way to win an impossible fight is to change what the fight is about entirely. In the depths of space, other ancient threats stirred, drawn by the news that the invincible Void Seekers had fallen. But they would find the galaxy had changed. The coalition now included a species that had turned unpredictability into an art form, chaos into a weapon, and impossibility into just another problem to solve. Humanity had joined the galactic community, and nothing would ever be the same.